So, our topic today. There's a poem that I really like, and let's see what the words here are to this poem. Ideals, divine ideals, the secret to man's youth. I think that's what it is. Ideals, divine ideals, the secret to man's youth. And so, I just thought to talk about this today for a few reasons. We'll start with the first. When I was in America a little while back, I was at the Expanding Light, and we were sitting there in a circle at one of the tables, and there was a young girl there who had just graduated from college. And I asked the typical question, "What brought you to Ananda?" And she said, "Do you really want to know?" Yes, of course. Otherwise, why would I have asked? Of course, I want to know. And she said, "I'm on a quest. That I have a list in my room. Do you want to see it?" I said, "No, I don't want to see it. But tell me a little bit about this quest." And she said, "I'm searching for truth." That's one of the things on this list. That I'm searching for love. That I'm searching for peace. And immediately that got the table in an uproar of different people. "No, that can't really exist. There's no such thing as true love. I was married for this many years, and I know." And this other person, "Oh no, well, if it's not men and women, then it can definitely exist." And on it seemed to go. But after all of the pandemonium died down, that she was washing the dishes or doing whatever they do at the EL, and I just felt that I had to tell her that I just some part of me couldn't help it, and I said, "Never abandon your quest." And I actually came in a little bit too powerful and too high with it, and I think I scared her a little bit, but it's I had to say it because what she was doing is what we are all doing. It's why we are all here, that we are on this quest to uphold these divine ideals, these secrets to man's youth, that we are all searching for these things, and we come in at the beginning of life wanting this perfect love or this perfect joy. And we end up settling, we end up compromising. When I was a very young man, 14 years old, I was in Alaska, and I met up with this man who was a few years older than me. I think he was 18, 19 years old. And he told me that when he was a young kid, he had promised himself that he would never kill animals for money. And by the time he was 18 or 19, he'd gone out in Alaska on the fishing boats like everyone does there and just mercilessly slaughtered millions of fish for money. And he just already he was kind of so hurt inside and so scared at age 19 of I knew when I was a little kid that I promised myself I would never do this, and already I've broken that divine ideal and I've done whatever that was for him. Now, uh, that's just an example, one that probably many of us here can't relate to. I don't know how many people here are doing commercial fishing, but I think each of us do have these things on the inside where we just feel that we must stick to this no matter what. For example, even meditation, that how often do we sit down with this divine ideal that today I will not move from this spot for however amount of time until I go deep in meditation. And sometimes we stick to it and we gain that tremendous amount of peace on the inside. And sometimes we don't. But the more that we can stick to it, the more that we find a strength coming within us. And that strength, it's not ours. It's such a fascinating thing because we think it's ours, but really it's not. Really, nothing that we do is ours. It's amazing to me how Divine Mother's doing the whole show, and yet we feel that we are the doer. Master has this one line that that we don't have free will at all, that our only free will is either to love God or not to love God, basically. And that line is so deep. It's so amazing to me that whenever it seems that we bring God into whatever it is that we're doing, it seems to go well. And what is it that brings God into our lives? It is that divine love, that devotion, that when we're loving God, we're automatically thinking about God, we're automatically having that consciousness, and then life is automatically going well. And when we're not, when we're thinking that we are doing it ourselves, then and Satan's so tricky, so subtle. Seems, I got this one. I've done this before many times. I know what I'm doing. I can handle it. And it goes, and it seems we're doing okay. But the more we start thinking about ourselves, the more a little bit it gets off, and a little bit it seems to be going wrong. And we think, I'll try to do better. And we try, and it just seems to go so wrong. There was a saint, George Washington Carver. And he had convinced all of the slaves in America to plant peanuts. That he noticed that their cotton crops each year were becoming less and less and less. And knew a little bit about chemistry and science and realized that if they would plant peanuts, that would put nitrogen into the soil. And then the year after that, or the season after that, or whatever, if they plant the crop cotton again, they would get much more. So they all planted these peanuts. And the next thing he knew, there was all of these peanuts in the market, and it was worth, as the saying goes, peanuts. And it wasn't worth anything. And so all of these farmers came to him and just said, "What have you done to us? You've ruined us. We all planted this, and now we can't sell it for anything." And so he felt a kind of divine responsibility, that something inside of him said that he must do something about this. And so he had a little laboratory, and he went into that lab, and he worked for 6 days straight, just coming up with this different thing. He invented a way of making plastic out of the peanut, a way of making some type of gasoline, and this and that, and all kinds of, I don't know, creams and ointments, and of course the famous American peanut butter, which we all still enjoy. But anyway, when he came out of that lab, someone asked him, "What were you doing in there for 6 days?" And he said, "Not me. We." And so he was working in there with the other saints, with God, to do all of those different things. And with that power, he was able to work for 6 days straight. And he was able to come up with all of these different inventions, because he wasn't in his little ego, that he was in a consciousness that was much greater. And all inventions, all solutions to all problems are in this state of mind, are in this consciousness, that it is that divine ideal that we are all striving to uphold, to be in that state of joy. And we all know it, that when we are in that state of joy, that solutions just come, that we just, that's how it is. And when we're in that state of, the energy goes down, then it just seems like nothing works. And so we're all here, we're all learning our lessons on how to uphold this ideal. And isn't it beautiful, really, that God has given us eternity for us to learn how to have a set of divine ideals. And we get to choose ourselves what are our divine ideals. And as we grow spiritually, as we progress on the spiritual path, our ideals change. When I first came on the spiritual path, I was dead determined that I wasn't going to eat sugar anymore. I just thought that was the, cause of all the problems in the world. And if I could just get this out of my diet, then everything would be fine. And I think it was that day, maybe one day later, that some lady from the EL, I was at the expanding light at that time, comes, "Oh, I baked this special cookie just for you. Put so much love into it." Oh no, what do? I just, gave this iron resolve, this was my divine ideal that I will not eat sugar. And then it seems the universe is conspiring against me in order to have this. And it's so long ago now, I don't even remember whether I ate the cookie or not. But it is important that Master said the wrestler becomes stronger when we can stick to it, and when we can fight with stronger wrestlers, so that we can stick to those divine ideals, and that we can uphold them. And ultimately, we gain the strength to make this entire universe at our command. Isn't that a fascinating thing? It really probably, from our level of consciousness, just sounds like that's too much. The whole universe, that the universe seems like such a big thing. But really, time and space, they're such a delusion. And as we can gain more love in our hearts, divine love, not human love, we can really begin to see right through time and right through space. Something that I've been pondering on lately is that if we have a deep relationship, let's say as husband and wife, that we come back again and again. And we might come back again, and it's that same soul, but this time we would be father and daughter or something like that. Isn't that an interesting concept? That we could have been in this type of relationship, and then we can be in that relationship, and then it could be father and son. And we come back again and again until that divine ideal of love is perfected. And then the outer manifestation, whether we're calling each other boss and worker or whatever, that doesn't matter anymore. It's that divine ideal. That's the thing that matters. And as we can perfect that divine love, then these high concepts like time and space, really, they just disappear. Another thing that I wanted to say today is that Master said, and what is it? I think the moonlight laughs at their skulls. You know this story that when the two lovers are professing under the moonlight that, I promise I'll love you forever. But these bodies, they don't last forever. And so Master was making a point that this human love, it can't last forever. But it's not something for us to scorn, something for us to just think, human love. I'm above all of that. That human love is how we learn. And human love is something that gets transformed into divine love. And once we learn how to work with that human love and turn it into divine love, then we can see what the Guru truly is. I like Dayamata's words. She said, I'm in love with love of Dayamata. And so when we can transform that human love in our hearts, when our consciousness can expand, then we can understand what the Guru truly is. That it takes that love within ourselves in order to be able to perceive that love in the Guru. But how amazing it is once we can transform ourselves sufficiently enough to comprehend that there is perfect love in a human body. And in that human body is expressing both human love and divine love towards us, towards each one of us. And that the Guru, the saints of all religions, are giving us that divine love in the way that we can receive it. I like that Ramakrishna used to say that the mother knows that she'll cook the fish in this way for this child and cook it in this way for this child. And the child that doesn't like fish, well, she'll give him the sweets, whatever it is. But the mother knows exactly what each child needs to grow and to become an even better child. And so Divine Mother knows exactly what each one of us needs to grow and to expand our consciousness and to become, in the words of Christ, perfect. Again, it's just amazing that we have eternity until we can perfect our ability to hold on to these divine ideals until we too become perfect. I think all of the time of the story of the rich man, and Christ said to him, why don't you give away everything and come and follow me? And that Christ would show him the kingdom of God, that Christ would show him this infinite love that we've been talking about. And that man thought, no, I can't do that. That's too much for me. I don't know that this is true at all, and it's probably not, but I just wonder that when St. Anthony of the Desert, when he even read in the Bible about that man, when Christ said, give away everything and follow me, that he read those lines and he gave away everything, and he immediately went off into the desert to follow Christ. It just makes me wonder, could he have been that man in the past incarnation? And then realize that once we leave these little bodies and we get that divine perspective and can see all of our different incarnations, and we see there was Christ. Not so much the man, but the consciousness, again, of God, of perfect love in the body, asking me to take that step of faith that he knew I was ready to take, that I could take that. And yet, we see, I blew it. But it's okay, because we do have eternity. But the soul knows. The soul holds on to all of these different experiences for eternity until we become eternal in and of itself, until we become that divine love that embraces eternity. And on the flip side of this eternity is Master's words, anguishing monotony. That I've met several people in this lifetime who have enough money to buy anything, to buy everything, but you can't buy divine love. You can't buy happiness. And my, how do people try? They try to buy this thing and that thing, and when the, I don't know, kind of glittering glamour's wearing off, they show it to all their friends and convince them, look at this thing that I bought, isn't it great? Oh yeah, wow. All their friends are happy, and they try to grasp on to that joy that they had when they first bought that thing. But that thing can never give this happiness. And I would much rather have what I see in the people at Ananda, what they have in their eyes. Many of us, if we had to declare on a census form or something how much money we're making, we'd probably be all saying that we're in poverty. But when we look in the eyes, that's the joy. That's the joy that money can't buy. That's what we're after. And that's what we come back again and again. And it does sometimes assume that anguishing monotony, to where we just feel like that musk deer, where we're just running around, just looking everywhere, just, it must be here or this or that. And by this time of all of these incarnations, we've gotten up a lot of energy. We can do a lot of things in this world and move a lot of things and get this and get that and become the top person in this business and telling so many different people to do. And yet, none of it works. And it's so simple. If we just hold on to that divine ideal, turn within. That once some disciples of Masters were fidgeting, and he only said the words, "Is that how much you love God?" That was enough to just get them perfectly still. That otherwise the mind, it's going, it's thinking, I want this, I want that. And it can become so restless that then the physical body becomes so restless. And we've had enough of that. So God has sent us the saints in this world. God has sent us this power, if we could but comprehend it. I don't know the words that are in the Bible. He walked amongst them or something like that, but they comprehended him not. That they were not able to understand that great light, that great consciousness that was walking with them, that dwelled with them, that lived with them. And are we able to know who we're living with, who we're interacting with, maybe sometimes on a daily basis? It's hard to know. It's hard to see, because we have to have that elevated consciousness. But the saints, they want to come to us. It's why they're here. They're here to infuse us with that divine power. And it takes that divine power, and we can never get it on our own. That it's why we must work on our attunement. It's why we must have a guru. It's why we must come to satsang and be in the company of other devotees, because we cannot climb that mountain with our own strength. That this power that I'm talking about is something so much greater than human strength. It's a consciousness that Master gives us, that visualization of expanding our consciousness out and far beyond this world, and out far beyond this solar system, and beyond all of these different galaxies. And the Masters, they are in all of that. That they are in on every human being, on every planet. Master's words in the poem Samadhi, every blade of grass. That they're in all of it. And that's only the physical world. And then they're in the astral world that's governing all of that, and the causal world that's governing all of that. That's a huge consciousness. And yet, they've come down to be here with us, to show us how we too can have that consciousness, how we too can have that love that would really do anything to help our brothers and our sisters. I like this visualization of a tapestry, that each one of us is like a thread in this beautiful tapestry. And the tapestry itself is God. But each one of us, each thread, it has its part to play, that we're all here for a divine reason, that every little thing that's happening to us, every thing, good, bad, every thought that we think, it's all there for a reason. And it's all there for us to understand how simple it is, that really we're just trying to point our mind to God, God, God. It's really that simple. And yet, then the mind, no, but what about this? And we have to do this, and you don't understand me, I just need that. And on it goes until none of those things work. And once again, we remember God, God, God. And each one of us, we have our way of getting there, and we will get there. But why delay? We've suffered long enough that this has been going on, and it can go on for as long as we want. That it's up to us to choose until we just say, I've had enough. And we have to say that with all of our strength, all of our mind, all of our heart, and all of our soul. And that last word brings us back again, our soul. That when we get to that level of meditation, to that level of prayer, that it's not us who's the doer anymore. That it's God who's meditating through us. That it's God even who's praying through us. And so why don't we try that experiment of asking God to pray with us, through us, to help us. Asking God to meditate through us. And deciding within ourselves that we're going to commit ourselves to this divine ideal. Like that story of Master where he decided to stay up all night with his friend until they saw Krishna. How many of us have tried that little experiment of holding on to that divine ideal that I'll try and stay up all night tonight just to see how much I can love God? We don't get that many days on this planet Earth that we're here, and by the time we go through all the childhood and figuring out what we really want again, that it's very, very few days. And we think, in the future, I'll try that staying up experiment. That's for the other guys. And before we know, it's over. And we come back again. And we have to go through, I don't know what it's called here in India, but junior high school all over again. And that's just tough enough. That in and of itself, I think, is enough for us to just say, okay, Jivan Mukta, this lifetime, that I'm going to do everything I can that's in my willpower to get free in this lifetime. That really, that it's been enough. And so let's conduct a few secret, silent experiments for ourselves. That we know which part of ourself needs work, and we know which experiments we need to do. I'm not urging for us to jump off of the divine cliff, that there's some things that are just too big for us, that we're just not ready to deal with those things yet. And we don't have to. We can just deal with the things that we are ready to deal with. I like the story in the autobiography of a yogi where Master's asking Sri Yukteswar to tell him a little bit about himself. And Sri Yukteswar tells the story of his mother telling him that there's a ghost in the closet. And Sri Yukteswar immediately runs, where? There's no ghost there. That Sri Yukteswar had that courage, that, again, coming back to the topic of divine ideals, that Master described him as stronger than thunder where principles were at stake, and softer than a flower where kindness was concerned. And so Sri Yukteswar had that courage. Whatever it was that he feared, to just open that door and just look that right in the face. We too, we must have that courage, that we are made in the image and likeness of God, that we have an infinite amount of power flowing within us. So why do we fear death? Why do we fear, I don't have enough money in the bank today? Or why do we fear, I might not get to eat today, or whatever it is? Look that right in the face, that you're a child of God, that you have an infinite power flowing within you. And as soon as you look at whatever that little thing is, that's just beating you up like a little bully, and you just look at it and take Sri Yukteswar's words. Be like a divine lion. Don't let the frogs of weakness kick you around. It's a beautiful image that you're a divine lion. Just whack that little frog right out of there. Don't let that little guy tell you what to do. But how often do these little subconscious fears, they come in and say, oh, don't try, no, don't do that. You might die. You won't die. That's exactly what Master says. Stay up all night. Get a little less sleep. You won't die. And anyways, then he goes on to say, die. Die if you have to know that it's God's power alone that's supporting you and not all of these little things. Okay, those are forceful words, but don't be afraid of it. How many times have you died already? Millions. Countless times. 8 million just to get to the human life. And God knows how many times this has been going on. And we've all heard these words that say, if you only knew how much God loves you, you would die for joy. My understanding of that is, if we can really gain that true love for God, and we don't know what God is, don't know how to visualize God. That's why God gives us a guru. We can visualize Him. I love this. I am He. I am He. I can visualize Master. I can visualize the saints of all religions. I can over and over in my mind say, I am He. I am He. So much that then that little ego, we can command it with all our force and tell it to get out. And so that we can love, I am He. I am He. We can love that guru so much, that so much divine love develops in the heart, that literally we go into this Sabikalpa Samadhi and we die for joy. We die for that divine love, that literally the breath stops, that the heart stops beating, because we have given everything that we are to God. And yoga is so beautiful. Really, the distance is right from here to here. We're just taking all of our energy and going like that. That Lahiri Mahashaya had a technique of gathering all of our energy there. And really, this who am I? It's a fascinating thing. As you start stripping away these little definitions of ego and realizing you're not this little body at all. Start realizing you are this vast, infinite cosmos, and even much more than that. And then realizing that it's your job to gather all of that in one point and cast it into that fire of wisdom. And in that, everything stops. All time, all space. You've given it all back. I was just at a Kriya initiation in Bangalore. One of the new Kriyabans seemed to think, I've been working for this for a year. What is this technique? Huffing and puffing you're having me do here? I came here to learn something grand. What is this? And yet we come to find that if we practice even a little bit of this, inward religion, even a little bit of this, will free us from dire fears and colossal sufferings. And if we learn how to withdraw our energy and move much more than just that breath, but move that energy, that grand things can happen. That I've been working in the lab there a little bit, and I've been studying how you can take just a little bit of energy and move a tremendous magnetic field. And you can move that magnetic field wherever you want, just with a little bit of energy. And we can learn how to do that with Kriya Yoga. And we can learn how to move worlds and galaxies with the little pranayam. Control the little pranayam. Become all-pervading pranayam. So these techniques that the Guru gives us, that if we can do them with concentration, if we can do them with devotion, with God's love and God's grace and God's power, that we can do so much, that we can become so powerful. But we don't want power for its sake, that it's not going to bring us that happiness either. That whatever we gain on the spiritual path, immediately give it back. Give it back. Just keep casting everything into that fire of divine love. And this will become a process that's going on and on throughout the day. That Jyotish one time had some mantra going. I don't remember what it was, Sri Ram or something. And he was chanting it all day long, mentally keeping his attention here at the spiritual eye, mentally chanting that. And then when he fell asleep at night, he could feel that power going on throughout the night. And when he woke up in the morning, that was still going on and going on. And so that's the divine ideal. And that's the secret treasure of man's youth, is that love for God, that ability to hold on to God, even when God's slapping us here and there and it's looking just terrible. Know that those tests too, that they come from Divine Mother, and that she's just testing us. And why shouldn't she test us? That human beings, we test one another to know if somebody's really true and if someone's loyal. Well, why shouldn't Divine Mother test us? And when we pass her tests, that we gain everything. How many times have we heard that poem of Tagore, of the beggar and the king, and the king, the beggar gives the king 1 grain of rice. Of course, we all know the story, and he comes to find that that 1 grain of rice was turned into gold. Why are we so afraid to give everything? It's because we don't know, that we think that we might not get it back, or that we might not be able to live without this or without that. But we've forgotten who we truly are, and it's easy to forget. This Maya is very, very powerful. But, like it says again in the Gita, where Krishna says to Arjuna, you must fight. He says it's your nature as a kshatriya. I like that he says he kind of shames him a little bit. That's what the other kshatriyas say. They're just going to, laugh at you. And a kshatriya like you won't be able to handle that. In the beginning, we all start off on the spiritual path like Vaishyas. Say, well, God, just give me a little of that, and I'll give you a little of this, God. We'll call it even. I swear I won't do that again if you just do this for me this time, God. And slowly, truly, after many incarnations, we realize that God already is that $100 bill in the plate, and that there's something else going on, and that God already has everything except our love. And then we begin to become kshatriyas, true kshatriyas. And it's no longer this thing of, God, I give you this, you give me that. But it's because it's our duty, that we know it's our highest duty to constantly be fighting the mental war, constantly be keeping our mind on God, 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 and not letting anything from this powerful Maya disturb that inner battle that's going on. And if we can do that, even a little bit of that, of keeping our mind on God, just a little bit here and there, that in and of itself, it gains a power, like a whirlpool. And that whirlpool, it can take us down or it can take us up. And there's many whirlpools. I like that image of a whirlpool, because if you can let your consciousness zoom out again into all of the creation, you see at the center of the galaxy there's that spiral that it's spinning, and then it has many different solar systems outside of that, and everything's spinning. That there's all of these universes, and they're all spinning, and they're all really spinning right inside us. That you can zoom out very big, or you can zoom in and realize that there's worlds and galaxies and planets, all these little atoms all spinning right inside of you. And if you can go to your very center and understand via magnetism what it is that makes the whole thing spin, and with Kriya Yoga, if you can stop that from spinning, if, as Ananda Ma used to urge her disciples, just chant mentally, God, 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 and watch all of this creation just disappear with that one mantra, what joy comes. We have no idea what joy comes. We know a little bit of joy comes, and that's enough to keep us going, but we must go on till the very end. That Master's words were that those who go on until the end, I forget his exact words. Can somebody help me? It's not because you're just, circumstances dictate that, oh, I'm going on till the end, here I am, but because you really want to with all of your heart. That those who go on to the very end, that I or one of the other masters will be there to greet you on the other side. And it seems we need to go on to the very end in our meditation, right here, right now, diving ever deeper and ever deeper until we realize that the masters are here with us for eternity, that they can never be not with us, that they're always with us, that it's we who run away with our fears and with our subconscious tendencies. But we're gaining stronger and stronger. We're becoming more and more powerful day by day. And we'll keep up our Kriya Yoga practice, and we'll keep going for the light, for God, together with that power. And Lahiri Mahashaya's words, doing, done. And we will realize ourselves who we truly are. So thank you for listening. I'd like to end, we'll just end with one chant, and then we'll send out this divine love to the whole world.